This is Top 30.
Welcome to the show. I'm Richard Bacon.
And I'm Kristen Smith. We have 30 stories in 30 minutes. Coming up, a warning you need to hear. Hackers could hear your every word through Amazon's Alexa. A few days until Harry and Meghan say I do, and we have the latest from London in our Royal Watch. And a family thought they were bringing home a new puppy, but soon realized it wasn't a puppy at all.
But first, AAA estimates more than 41.5 million Americans will travel over the Memorial Day weekend, the most since 2005. 7 out of 8 people going somewhere will be traveling by car, despite the most expensive gas prices since 2014. The average for April was $2.72 a gallon, 33 cents higher than last year. Experts warn traffic in major cities like New York, Washington, and Chicago could be twice as bad as normal during the busiest travel times. Airports may be just as packed. 2.7 million passengers are projected on the busiest travel days, which approaches the record set on the Sunday after Thanksgiving in 2004. And trains, buses, and cruise ships will also be busier than last year, up 2.4%. So basically, whichever mode of transportation you're taking, expect a lot of people and potential delays.
More than 300 severe storms were reported in the Northeast this week, slamming parts of Northern Virginia all the way up through New York with tornadoes, hail, and flooding. The storms caused at least 3 deaths from trees coming down on cars. The New York governor has declared a state of emergency in 4 counties, and the National Guard has been deployed. And Seattle Mariners star Robinson Cano was slapped with a massive 80-game suspension for violating the MLB's drug agreement. Cano, currently halfway through his 10-year, $240 million contract, tested positive for the diuretic furosemide. And we all remember the white and gold, blue and black dress controversy, right? Well, there's a new debate sweeping the internet. Take a listen.
Laurel.
I so clearly hear Yanni. I don't know how anybody could hear Laurel.
Yeah, so I hear Laurel. I'm not sure we needed proof that our brains are different.
But now we
There it is. Let's go to the New York Stock Exchange for our Fox Business Minute with your friend and mine, Nicole Petlides. Nicole, I'm hearing that Target is making some changes.
That's right, Richard. Target is cutting its next-day delivery fee by almost half. The cost for customers using the company's restock service will be $2.99 instead of $4.99. The move puts pressure on competitors, including Walmart and Amazon, as they try to lure customers with attractive delivery fees. A new report finds that a Facebook data leak exposed intimate details of 3 million users. The My Personality app left users' data unsecured, possibly for the past 4 years. Facebook has suspended 200 apps and has said that if My Personality refuses to cooperate or fails an audit, it will be banned from its site. Netflix is spending up to $8 billion on content this year, with about 85% going to originals.
And Nicole, what are they looking to do with this?
Well, the company wants to give film buffs a reason to stay home. Get this, Netflix is on track to release at least 86 Netflix original films in 2018.
That's pretty remarkable. And Nicole, in New York, thank you.
Danielle Knox from Fox 35 Orlando has what you need to know today. Danielle, I hear the oldest child now has some more bragging rights.
Kristen, hey there. Well, if you are the firstborn child in your family, a new study says that you are probably smarter than your siblings. Researchers call it the birth order effect. They say parents often give the oldest child more intellectual attention, which allows them to achieve the highest level of education and the highest paying jobs. As a middle, I'm not really hearing this. But your Alexa device may be hearing more than you know. Some researchers found that hackers can actually use what's called white noise to hack your devices. They can bury hidden messages and instructions in the sounds. To have your Alexa device shop online, to do wire transfers, or even unlock doors. Amazon says it has put security measures in place to prevent such hack attacks. And forget those expensive face creams and anti-aging lotions. The secret to fighting wrinkles can be found in the produce aisle. According to researchers in Europe, women who reported the highest intake of eating fresh fruits and vegetables and fish had way fewer age lines than those who ate more bread and red meat and sweets. Now, as for men, researchers say diet had little to no effect on their wrinkles. Of course it didn't. And that's what you need to know. Kristen, let's go back to you now.
Yeah, I always knew the fellas had it easy. Thanks, Danielle. And Top 30, we'll be right back.
Time now for Royal Watch with The Sun. Let's check in with the legendary Arthur Edwards, The Sun's royal photographer for 40 years. He joins us from his home in the United Kingdom. Arthur, welcome back.
Take care, Richard. I'm glad to be back.
Now tell me about the atmosphere in the nation's capital, London, in these final few days before the wedding.
Well, it's mixed. I've been to Windsor today. There's people camping out in the streets already, all dressed up in their finery, their Union Jack suits. But there's also the talk about the father. I hope to God he turns up. This girl will need as much support from her family as she can get, and her mother and father being there will be just brilliant for her.
Almost everybody watching us on television right now is an American, Arthur. Let's explain that Windsor, where they're getting married, a lot of people here refer to it as London. It's not actually in London, is it?
No, it's about 15 miles from London. It's a castle built by William the Conqueror. It's where the Queen spends all her weekends, in the grounds of which is this lovely chapel called St George's. That's where they're getting married. We found out today that they're staying in different hotels. She's staying in Clifton House, which is a very famous house in modern history, and he's staying at a polo ground nearby, Coworth House. And they won't see each other until they meet at the church.
Arthur, as ever, an enormous pleasure, and here's a real treat. Guess what? Arthur Edwards is back on the show tomorrow. Arthur, thank you.
A pleasure, Richard. Pleasure.
Now for this week's Page 6 Fix with Elizabeth Wagmeister. She has all the latest from the Cannes Film Festival. So, Elizabeth, what's going on?
Well, Kristen, here's what you missed so far at the Cannes Film Festival. Kendall Jenner had a wardrobe malfunction. Oscar nominee Timothée Chalamet was making out with a mystery blonde. Dame Helen Mirren took a tumble while Jane Fonda exercised on it. Bella Hadid was spotted with her ex The Weeknd, and Pitbull had to cancel his much-hyped performance due to vocal issues. And you gotta have a little help from your friends, right, Kimmy? Lala Anthony told Page 6 that she often gives parenting advice to celebrity gal pals like Serena Williams and, yes, even Kim Kardashian West. But she admits that when it comes to girly stuff, she says, I'm not the one to call for that. And that's this week's Page 6 Fix. See you next time.
All right, very nice. Thanks, Elizabeth. For more news and gossip, watch Page 6 TV weekdays. Check your local listings. All right, all puppies are cute, but science says these puppies are just a little cuter. A new study says humans find dogs most cute when they're between 6 and 8 weeks old. Researchers at Arizona State and the University of Florida showed photos of 3 dog breeds at different ages to human volunteers, who then ranked their cuteness. Jack Russells were most eye-catching at 6.3 weeks. Cane Corsos looked cutest at 7.7 weeks, while White Shepherds got the most attention at 8.3 weeks. It's about the time their mothers stop weaning them and leave them to fend for themselves. The researchers think it could give us a clue to how dogs evolved to rely on humans. They appear most cute to humans at the exact time their mothers no longer care for them.
The 8-week point is just the point where the hook is biggest. The ability of the animal to grab our interest is strongest. But having grabbed our interest, we continue to love them.
The research team would like to follow up with more studies on the connection between man and man's best friend.
All right, Top 30, we'll be right back. Welcome back to Top 30. Many voters in Pennsylvania received a mysterious letter saying they would be exposed for not voting. Letters arrived before this week's primaries. They read, what if your friends, your neighbours and your community knew whether you voted? They list whether the recipient and their neighbours voted in the last 3 elections. I mean, it's an odd thing, this.
Yeah, it's a big mystery. I found this interesting. A Pennsylvania state rep said these letters are nothing more than bullying tactics and have no place in our democracy. So people are feeling uncomfortable with this.
Well, not voting can actually be a statement in its own right. If you look at the candidates and you think they don't represent my interests or I don't trust any of them, you don't have to vote. It doesn't mean you're lazy. That may be your choice.
But then that's just like being a Republican or a Democrat is a choice, and then people say, like, you're this or you're that. It's the same if you don't vote.
This has
another target.
I just think this has to have an agenda. If you targeted these letters mainly in Democrat areas to get more Dems out or Republicans get more Republicans out, I bet you it's not as neutral as it appears.
Some of the letters are even inaccurate. So anyway, okay, well, how about this story? Soon you'll be able to track how much time you spend on Instagram. Why? Because the app will tell you. One user found some code for usage insights and time spent hidden in the app. Well, Instagram CEO confirmed it on Twitter. The change has people wondering if indeed they are Instagram addicts. And the thing is, with Instagram or Facebook or whatever platform, you're scrolling, and then before you know it, you're like, what the heck, 30 minutes passed. You know, it's very common.
I love this. I mean, it's quite interesting. This was discovered by a computer science student, and she's done this with Google and with a few other tech companies.
Yeah, very smart woman.
Very smart. A, that's very smart by her. Secondly, what I like about it is it's slightly against the company's own interests in a healthy way.
Yeah.
Because by saying to you you're spending too much time, you know, it's probably better for your mental health to spend less time on Instagram, which doesn't help that ad revenue.
Right. You know, the pros here, you can keep track of your kids' usage on Instagram, your spouse maybe.
Yeah.
I told you were on Instagram all day.
I am absolutely going to catch my wife out with this.
You can't
She's on
wait.
Instagram all the time. And then she'll say to me, oh, I hardly have any time to check Instagram. And that's just, either she's lying or she's delusional. And it's time to find out which.
Well, now you can.
And I will. Top 30 will be right back.
In today's Hometown Stories from Fox 10 Phoenix, 83-year-old veteran Jordan Dancer had fallen on hard times.
I just didn't know what to do, and sometimes I hated for the mail to arrive because it was just bills.
Then Rebuilding Together stepped in. The national nonprofit works to revitalize communities by helping owners who can't afford to fix their homes. Employees from Enterprise Rent-A-Car and Farmers Insurance joined the effort to repaint Dancer's home, build a patio, and repair his air conditioning. Our next story from Fox 11 LA. Isabel Guillen organized a day of pampering for women battling cancer at the Adventist Health White Memorial Hospital. Enlisting stylists and business owners to donate services and goodie bags, the event is in its 8th year, and it holds a special meaning to her.
It takes me back to when I was going through the same thing they're going through. But to see the smiles on these women's faces, it just means everything to me.
Our final story from Fox 13 Tampa Bay. Suncoast Community Health Center is helping the children in Tampa say cheese with their A Smile Every Mile program. The program's traveling dental bus helps reach children in underserved areas so they can get the care they need.
It's more than just cleaning a tooth or putting a sealant on, really. We're helping improve the overall health, education, and well-being of this child.
To date, the program has brought a smile to the faces of 40,000 children. Welcome back to Top 30. Uber is changing its policy for sexual assault victims. Passengers, drivers, and employees will be able to speak publicly about accusations they make against the company. The previous terms of agreement force people bringing complaints to resolve claims through arbitration, which critics say help them keep the allegations quiet. Now, this is a big deal because it comes after a huge investigation where 103 Uber drivers were accused of sexually assaulting or abusing passengers in the past 4 years. So this is a big change, and there's a couple other things they're doing as well to kind of, you know, remake their reputation of sorts.
It's funny, isn't it, when you sign up to Uber's terms of use. So when you download the app, you say, I agree to your terms and conditions, which of course you never read, which it turns out included a statement that said if you bring a case, you know, in a civil court, against one of our drivers, you can't speak publicly about it. You have to go through our... Like, that's all in the thing you don't read.
Yeah.
The what? Where did that come from? I didn't know I was bound by that.
Exactly.
So, yeah, obviously, it's the right thing to do. There was that dreadful case in Los Angeles of the Uber driver who was accused of multiple counts. Do you remember that? I mean, you know, these stories matter. They are important.
Right.
And also, it's by talking about it publicly that I think it makes it less likely to happen as well.
Yeah.
So, you know, it all makes sense.
Certainly hope so.
A survey found parents are so busy they eat 156 meals each year standing up. And more than half admit to dipping into their child's snacks just to get a bite to eat sometimes. I have this theory that if you really want to lose weight as a parent, don't worry about going to the gym. Don't worry about changing your diet other than never eating any of your kids' food. Because you know you take a spoonful of pasta, or there's the chicken dippers, a lava cup, or of course you've got fries. Like if you could just never eat any of the kids' food, we'd all be fine.
Yeah, or feed your kids healthier food, or that.
That's even harder.
I laughed so hard when I looked at these numbers because I always eat standing up.
Right.
Because when I choose to sit down, even at the dinner table, I sit down and then my son drops his fork. Okay, oh, and then I need to get this from the kitchen.
Yeah.
So I'm just standing up all the time. And so sometimes I just choose to stand at the counter.
Might be quite good for you. You might end up like calorie neutral. You put that much work into standing up and picking things up whilst eating.
It's a workout.
Yeah, it's a workout.
Great.
It's a good idea.
Okay, glad we fixed that. Okay, how about this story? It is a crazy one. A family in China got a big surprise when they found out that what they thought was their pet dog was actually a bear. They thought they were buying a Tibetan Mastiff puppy 2 years ago, but recently discovered it was actually an Asiatic black bear. This is insane. I don't know if I've heard a story like it because they're getting this puppy and it starts growing and growing, and then it starts eating 2 buckets of noodles and a big box of fruit. And they're like, our dog eats a lot. And
maybe these are the only people in the world that have never seen a picture of a dog. Somebody said, this is a dog. And they're like, is it? Thanks. Like, I like to look at this line here. This really made me laugh.
Yeah.
The family knew something was up when it started walking on 2 legs. I like that. That's more than knowing something is up.
Yeah.
Right?
Not to
That's
mention
a little bit unusual. If it's
like
walking on 2 legs, it's a bear.
But not only that, but it looks like a bear to me.
And it looks like a bear. And it eats like a bear. It's not something's up. It's a bear. You've got a bear. And remember, a bear is not a man's best friend. No. It might be their worst.
Yeah. Top 30. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Top 30. Everyone is getting in the spirit of the royal wedding. And what's more British than high tea? Paige Failing at Fox 46 in Charlotte got a lesson on how to properly drink the English staple. So, Paige, what'd you learn?
Well, my biggest takeaway was all that I was doing wrong all this time. Namely, it's not even always called high tea. Apparently, that term is more of an actual meal that you eat while you sip your tea. But afternoon tea is really the more traditionally thought of small plates and hors d'oeuvres, etc. You're not supposed to cheers with your teacup, of course. That's no big surprise to most of us, right? But I was surprised to learn that you are always supposed to pick up both the teacup and the saucer so you don't spill all over yourself or the table or anything else. Never have your pinky raised, which we all do when we imitate people, right? And at the end of our lesson, I actually asked that very question and was told, don't be tacky. So there you go.
Okay, so no pinky. I'll put it away. Don't want to be tacky. Thanks, Paige.
Heroes are human. That is what former first responder Vincent Savoya wants people to know. Savoya was a paramedic in Toronto for 10 years, but a crime scene he was called to in 1988 left him unprepared for the psychological after effects of what he'd seen. He suffered from PTSD and after retiring a few years later, made it his purpose to fund research and ensure first responders get the mental support they need. According to the Canadian Mental Health Association, first responders are twice as likely as other Canadians to experience PTSD, and Savoya is fighting to change how everyone from police forces to insurance companies treat people with PTSD. If you'd like more information on PTSD, support and resources are available on Savoya's website. All right, a flaw in Amazon's smart doorbell allowed unauthorized people to watch who was going in and out of houses and even download videos from the device. Amazon bought a company called Ring in February for $1 billion. Ring is basically a video camera that connects your doorbell to your smartphone so you can see and talk to people who are at your front door. TheInformation.com discovered a flaw that allowed people with old passwords to see the video feed. In one case, an ex-partner had been monitoring the camera for months. Ring said it was alerted that password changes were not updating and started updating user access as soon as it was notified. The company released a statement urging users not to share their passwords and to use their shared user feature instead, and also promised to further improve the password change experience.
Okay, more Top 30 after this. Welcome back to Top 30. After the Weinstein Company filed for bankruptcy, many TV shows owned by the company were scrambling to survive the fallout. Jason Matheson, host of The Jason Show on Fox 9 in Minneapolis, has details about one hit reality show that was able to land a new home. Hi, Jason.
I'm talking about Project Runway. So here's the dealio. Y'all remember that Project Runway started on Bravo back in 2004. Became a huge hit, and after a few seasons, the Weinstein Company, you know, that company, wanted more money for the show. Lifetime Network outbid Bravo. The show moved over to Lifetime. Well, listen to this. Now, with all the problems with the Weinstein Company, including bankruptcy, the show, well, needed a new home, and Bravo bought it back, which is great news for Bravo and greater news for the fans because Bravo promises that they are going to refresh the long-running show. Kristen?
Well, I love that show, and I'm excited to see what they'll do. Thanks, Jason.
All right, that is it for today's show. Here's what's coming up on the next Top 30. Scientists may have found a way to cure the common cold, plus a way to celebrate the royal wedding at 30,000 feet. And the son of a fallen police officer gets some help returning to school. You can also listen to the day's biggest stories by subscribing to the new Top 30 podcast. See you next time on Top 30.